Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
Welcome to another great edition of Freed on Business. I want to thank our sponsors for well over the past decade. Warren Henry. The show's been on for about 15 years now. Episode 750 is coming up in January. And we want to thank everybody who's participated, especially our friends at Warren Henry. Thank you to Larry, Eric, Warren, Ismet, Jack, the whole team over there, Gio, Maytal. They make us feel like we are family. So remember, if you're looking to buy or lease a car, check out our friends at Warren Henry up at 151st and Biscayne, up in Gainesville, down in South Dade, down in the Keys. They're all great cars, and they all come with the Warren Henry advantage. We'll talk more about that a little bit later in the show, but I want to welcome one of our great repeat guests, Mr. Bruce Turkel, back to the show. Bruce, thanks again for being on the show with us this week.
Thanks for the invite, Jim. Always happy to be here.
It's our pleasure. And, you know, this is our, I like to say at this point, I think we can, our annual look back and look forward. And you're particularly qualified, given that you wrote the book, Is That All There Is? You know, people ask that all the time. And here we are, you know, I'm in commercial real estate and people come up to me and say the economy is smoking except for in real estate and I can't find a deal or make a living. And so it's a real big time of change and evolution for people. And I really think it's a great time to look back and look forward here today with you, Bruce. So thank you for being on the show today. And, you know, what would you say to people that are in what I would call a position where they need to transition into something new, you know, make a change in their life? What are some of the things that you've gleaned from your interviews and appearances and relationships over the years?
Well, when I wrote the book, it's because I was changing my life and I had sold my business and I was trying to decide what to do next. And since I'm a marketing guy, marketing people do market research. So I went out and spoke to 50 successful people who had changed their lives to ask them what they had done, how they did it, why they did it, what they learned, what they would do again, what they wouldn't do again. You know, all the questions. And from that, I wrote the book. I put the interviews of 15 of the people in the book. And then I've continued to ask this question of people since then. It's been a couple of years now. What do you want and what have you done to get it? And there are some very clear parallels. Now, let's be clear. Lots of people have different opinions. There's plenty of people who did things that I would never do. But there also were some consistent things that everyone did or found out they did. This, I think, is even more important when they looked back. Like they didn't realize they were doing some of these things. I think the most important thing, what I learned from talking to successful people, is that they all run towards something, not away from something. That the people who were most successful at making a good, positive change was because they knew what they were going after. Certainly, people were trying to get away from things they weren't happy about. I mean, and that can span the life experience from refugees leaving a terrible situation to women leaving a terrible marriage to all people leaving bad businesses, all sorts of bad things they were running away from. I get that. But the people who were most successful had an idea of what they were running towards. They knew what success would look like for them. And if you ask most people that question, they don't know that answer.
Right.
But the folks I spoke to had spent a lot of time thinking about these things.
So what were some of the things that they were running towards? Family, career, avocation? What, Bruce?
Yeah, all those things. As I said, every situation was different for different people. What I gleaned from this is that in all these situations, the facts are different. Meaning, oh, I want to be a musician. Oh, I want to live on a farm. I want to start a medical practice. The facts of what people wanted to do were different, but the truths were universal. And the truths were, if you boiled it down, if you peeled back the onion, I don't know how many more metaphors I can mix, but if you really went to the core issue,
Dug really deep.
Exactly. The truth was that people wanted to find a place, a position, an opportunity where they could express who they truly were. And some people knew who that was, and other people did not. But people who knew who they were, what their strengths were, what gave them joy, they were able to move towards those things.
I'm just absorbing that and personalizing. I hope you don't mind.
You were like a human sponge, Jim. I
That's just
expect that from
tremendous.
you.
Oh, you're my mentor, Obi-Wan Turkel. Perhaps we should make that your handle. So, Mr. Mendoza was flashing ceonly.com. I guess that's your new site. What's that all about?
Well, CE Only was a group I put together of business people, successful business people who were trying to figure this out. What I learned from writing this book is that you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to think, oh my God, I'm the only one with this problem, the truth or opportunity. The truth is that everybody has it. As I said, the facts are different, but the truths are universal. So someone's sitting there and thinking, well, I'm an attorney, but I'm sick of practicing law. I want to be a sale maker, right? And someone else is thinking, well, that's not going to help me at all because I haven't had a successful career and I need to make more money because I want to be able to put my kids through college. Well, once again, the facts are different, but the truths are universal. Everyone is looking for something that they don't necessarily know how to accomplish. So I put together this group called CE Only, CEO-NLY, get it, where we would bring in people who are CEOs, entrepreneurs, business owners, ready for a change and create a strategic roundtable where people could work together to help each individual person figure out what they want. There's a website, ceonly.me. We're actually starting a new course that'll start the beginning of January. We only take 12 people. We've done 4 or 5 of them now, and they've just been phenomenal. They are complete life changers for people because not only do they get good advice and support, they get 2 other things. They get the idea that they are not doing this alone, that there's others who are having the same issues. And so people feel better about what they're going to do. And number 2, they get accountability. It's great to say, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to sail around the world. I'm going to open a little restaurant. But if you don't get up every morning knowing what has to happen and actually make it happen, you're not going to do it. Someone asked me once, they hired me to speak at an event, and they said, we need a motivational speaker like you. I said, wait a second, I am not a motivational speaker. I give people what they need to know to get what they want. But I can only motivate them while I'm up on stage. If you want to run a marathon and you know that on Thursday you have to get up at 4 o'clock because it's your 17-mile run and it's cold at 3:30 when the alarm goes off, guess what? You're not getting up unless you have an accountability partner who is there to help you do it. So one of the things that we've worked into this group is that not only do you get the ideas and the direction that you want to go after, but you also get the accountability partner who will see to it that you get it.
You know, it's fascinating. While you talk, I go through a lot of self-reflection, and I've thought about a number of the initiatives that I've started in the past few months. And in each case, I've got somebody that's right there with me as my wing person who I didn't realize until you just stated it was providing me with the accountability.
It's critical. Even if you're disciplined, you need these. I'll give you an example. There was a guy in our group. I won't use any names. You won't be able to know who it is, but there was a guy in our group who was a wealth advisor, an investment counselor. And he was now in his mid-ish 60s. He wanted to retire at 70. And what I learned, because I didn't know this, the way that works is that at a certain point in your career, there are companies who will buy your book of business.
Yes.
All the investors that you take care of. And they base it on a couple things, all metrics. There's no touchy-feely stuff here. They base it on how many people are in your book of business, how much money you have under advisement, how that money is divided up. Do you have like 2 whales who each have, a couple $100 million, or do you have lots of people with smaller amounts? And how long have you kept these people in your because what happens is when this company buys your book, that book's going to be handed over to another advisor, and they don't want the people to leave because then they don't get any value. And it's all laid out. So he knew exactly how much money he needed to have under advisement and how many people he needed in his roster. He also knew, because he's been doing this job for 40 years, so he knew how many calls he had to make. I don't remember the metrics, but for the sake of argument, if he make 100 phone calls a week, he would speak to 20 people a week. From those 20 people, he'd get 2 appointments. From those 2 appointments, he'd get 1 person, let's just say. And each person was worth an average of, I don't know, a couple $100,000. So he knew the math because he had done this. And this guy doesn't mind doing cold calling. It's part of who he is. All right. So he said, so I know that I need to call 7 people a day, make 7 phone calls a day. If I do that, I'll hit my number. I'll be able to sell my business. The problem was, he said, even though I don't mind talking to people in cold calls, I just hate actually sitting down and doing cold calls. I can always come up with 1,000 things to do rather than cold call. So another guy in the group raises his hand and says, I'm going to be your accountability partner. Here's what we're going to do. Every day at 7 p.m., I'm going to send you a text. We all have these little magical devices. I'm going to send you a text, and it's going to be the number 10. It's going to be the phone icon, and then it's going to be the little guy shrugging like, huh? So meaning, did you make 10 phone calls? Right. And you're going to send me back a text that's going to be 10 phone icon and thumbs up, or 10 phone icon and thumbs down. If it's thumbs down, then the next day you have to make 12 or 13 or whatever it is. So the guy who was the wealth advisor, he said, I didn't want to make these calls, but the thing I hated more than anything was having to send the thumbs down. I didn't want to disappoint my accountability partner. So he said, my wife would, send me a text, honey, don't forget, we're having dinner with Jim Fried tonight at 7:00. We got to leave at 6. And he'd go, oh crap, I've only made 8 calls. I got to make 2 more calls. So he was hoping that voicemail would answer, because it wasn't that he had to speak to someone, but he had to make the calls. He said he did it. Okay. Time goes by, the group is over, we're on a new group, some people resubscribe, some people don't, this guy stayed in it. So maybe a year and a half later, I asked him, so what happened with that? He said, we are still doing it 5 days a week. He said, I am ahead of my numbers, I can chart it out. If I keep doing this, at 68, I will hit my number. At 72, I'll be above my number. I'm going to retire with the book worth what I need it to be worth to get the amount of money I want, blah, 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 blah. Such a stupid thing. Just, hey, Jim, did you make your phone calls today? Just imagine how powerful that is. And each person in the group got one of these programs that they set up. I'm no great genius. I don't know what they need, but I know how to help them figure it out. And I know how to make sure that they do it.
So let's talk about that for a minute. You just hit me right between the eyes. I'm in real estate. Real estate's kind of slow right now. I don't think that's a headline on news. So I got a call from a friend of mine that I sold some real estate for 10 or 15 years ago. He called me. He goes, I'll be back in the United States in a month. Let's get together. Okay, fine. So I sent him a text at the end of the month. He said, yeah, I pushed it back a couple of weeks. Let's get together in a couple of weeks. So I sent him a text. Hey, are you back in Miami? He goes, yes, let's get together in 2 hours at the Starbucks on Biscayne Boulevard and 36th Street. And I go, 20 minutes? He goes, yeah. I go, I'll be there. So I show up. And the guy goes to me, he goes, real estate's really slow, but I have a private equity opportunity for you. It entails calling a 1,000 person phone list and building it out for me. So I've been doing that for 3 weeks, having incredible success. And guess what I remembered from the last time you were on the show?
I don't know.
That vignette that you just shared.
Oh, did I tell it last year also? Doesn't
matter. It's tremendous. It's tremendous. I keep it close to my heart. I watch it sometimes because it's important. Now, in this case, the founder of the company is my benchmark person. But you had to start and you had to make 150 phone calls before you even understood what you were talking about. Then you had to go research and add people to the list to show that you understood the types of people that you were calling. And believe me, when I go to LinkedIn for a real estate person, 100 to thousands of people are common contacts. When I go to look at the people I'm calling off of this list, no common contacts, nothing. So I had to listen to how to say the pitch. And now I'm talking to the top person in the individual silos of the law firms around the world that refer business to us. And it's incredible. And I'm watching it build. And I know that if I make a certain number of phone calls and say things just a certain way, that after maybe it's 1,000 phone calls, I don't know, business will come in. And I'm convinced of it. So Bruce, I want you to know that that is a very powerful statement that you just made, and a very powerful supporting concept for people who are, I'm going to have to say it this way, just willing to try.
There's an interesting parallel here between what you and I were talking about before the show started. We were talking about music and concerts we've been to when we were both at University of Florida, and you mentioned the Allman Brothers. We're both big Allman Brothers fans, but you remember that Billy Joel used to come through Gainesville all the time. I saw him every time he did. And one of my favorite songs is a song by Billy Joel, Summer Highland Falls. And if I liked tattoos, which I don't, even though my kids have enough for all of us, but if I like tattoos, I would get tattooed on my forearms, sadness on one arm and euphoria on the other. That's his line from Summer Highland Falls. It's either sadness or euphoria. And he opens by saying, they say that these are not the best of times, but they're the only times I'll ever know. And then goes on to say it's either sadness or euphoria. And the point is that regardless of whether in your case real estate is doing well or is not, this is the only time you're ever going to have to sell real estate or to be doing business. Therefore, you decide if it's going to be sadness, real estate's not doing well, or euphoria, I can call my old contacts and look for other opportunities. When COVID came, needless to say, in 2019, before COVID, I was working as a speaker, flying around the world, speaking at conferences, and I was killing it and having a great time and loving it. And 2020 was even better. I had a gig in San Diego, and then I had a week, and then I had a gig in LA, so I stayed out there. My daughter lives out there. We spent time together. It was just great. And then when I was in LA in March of 2020, I start to see people with masks on, and before long, boom, we're in COVID. And guess what? Every single gig I had on the book got canceled. Every single one. It was a lot of gigs, a lot of time, and a lot of money. But there's nothing I can do about it. I couldn't say, oh, don't worry about that. We're going to meet anyways. So I started doing these virtual programs and these workshops and CEOnly.me and Is That All There Is, ITATI.me, another group. And I started doing these other things. It's either sadness or euphoria, pal. You pick. But it's the only chance you're going to get. So you better figure out how to make it work. And you've always been a great, great example of how to do that.
Thank you so much, Bruce. If you could stay and we could do another segment, I'd really appreciate it.
What's it worth to you?
Kindness and happiness back at you.
I'm here.
Oh, that's wonderful. Mr. Mendoza, it's your time to shine. We'll be back with Mr. Turkel in just a short break, after a short break.
There's a speed trap town just south of Chirac. I was racing down to Darlington.
All right, a little Bruce Turkel music there as we went into break. I want to thank our good friends at Warren Henry. Thank you to Eric Ismit, Larry Warren, all my good friends at Warren Henry. They truly do make the auto experience as painless as possible. They treat you like family. So when you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry. Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, Jaguar, and they're building their new Lincoln store up at 151st and Biscayne. In Gainesville, they sell Audis. Down in South Dade, they have their award-winning Land Rover, Range Rover store, and of course in the Keys. They just acquired a Chevrolet dealer. They've got all the great nameplates down there. All these cars are great cars, and they all come with the Warren Henry Advantage. That's a long laundry list of services that you know well by now. It includes the service loaner if you have to leave your car. They'll polish up your rims to keep your car looking great if you scratch them. They'll replace your fancy key, your computer key that costs a whole lot of money if you lose that. And besides that, they'll guarantee that you're getting the best price when you buy your car or lease your car. They'll guarantee that you're getting the best value when you trade in your car. They'll give you 3 days to make sure that you like your car. You can trade it back, but nobody ever does that because they all love their cars. So join me, my mom, my beautiful wife, Vivian. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. We love our cars. You will too. Join us. Remember, always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry.
Slow it down, 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 down. It's Society Hill. Well, the sheriff's only daughter, she was looking at me. I said, your daddy's asleep, baby, give me the...
Hi, I'm Jim Freed. I'm the founder of Sandstone Realty Advisors, and we do a whole bunch of things for our clients. Basically, we work with a lot of family offices at this point. We've got one family that we're helping refinance some shopping centers. We've got another family that we're helping to generate business opportunities around the globe that focus on, well, private equity, actually. So we're expanding, like we're talking with Mr. Turkel today. It's not about what you've done in the past. It's about what you're going to do moving forward and how are you going to get there. Reach out to me. I've been through all of it before. The family that reached out to me from Europe that I'm helping them acquire properties around the world, I can do the same for you. Reach out to me, DM me, call me. I can help you not only create your business plan, but execute it too. So remember, my personal brand is that I self-actualize by helping other people achieve their dreams and goals. I do that by solving problems for them and bringing them peace of mind. Reach out and let me do that for you. Remember, the person that, I totally messed up my little line. So just reach out to me, DM me, call me. And remember, whenever you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
Here we are after I kind of brain cramped on the tagline that I've used for so long and said thousands of times. We're here with Bruce Turkel, and today's show really is all about you. Bruce and I are going through lessons that we've learned during transitional periods, either ones that we've sought out ourselves or ones that have been thrust upon us by the world. And Bruce, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
It was one of my highlights when I got to come to your house and see your studio. It's so eclectically you. It's not even funny. It's a whole room that just shouts Bruce Turkel. Bruce, you know, we've had you on many, many times. We're talking today about is that all there is? But one of the things that I think is extraordinarily important is going back to your seven points that you've made. And I always like to focus on repeat, repeat, repeat. You know, we were giving all of this advice, but it really doesn't always get through. That's why I like to go over it at the end of every year, because it's important that people repeat this type of information to themselves. In fact, it's very important that they also have positive self-talk. And I think that that's what you were talking about when you were referring to the Billy Joel song about the two different things on your forearms. And the fact is that this is all we really have. So let's go out and make some lemonade. Bruce, if you're talking to some folks right now, what would you say to them would be the best way to get started on the rest of their life?
Well, the most important thing, bar none, from every person I spoke to, is quite simply knowing what you want. And that sounds so easy. What do you want? What do you want? We say it all the time. And we think that we get up every day going after what we want. But what I learned, because by now I've spoken to probably 1,000 people about this, what do you want? People answer generally one of three things. everyone listening, watching, whatever, should do this. Don't say it out loud because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but you could write it down or at least know what you want. Try to reduce it to 1 or 2 words. And basically everyone says the same thing. They say, I want to be rich, or they say, I want to be happy, or they say, I want to be fulfilled. Now, you could use different words, but those are the 3 categories that I almost always hear. If there's a 4th, it's health, but health usually comes out in the happy part. If you look at those, if you do what we said earlier, if you peel back the onion or you dig deeper, what you realize is that those are very squishy subjects. Because what does being rich mean? To some people, being rich means paying their bills. It means putting the kids through school. It means being able to afford the rent and being able to afford medicine. To some people, being rich means private aircraft at your disposal. To some people, being rich means owning your own airplane, right? It's a very, very long continuum, and each one of us is on it somewhere. But being rich does not mean the same thing to everybody. Number 2, you say, I want to be happy. What does that mean? You want to walk around smiling all the time? I mean, right now, you and I are working, we're thinking, we're doing that. Are we happy? Yeah, if I stop and think about it, I enjoy this. But I'm not thinking, oh, it's like being at a comedy show. You want to be happy all the time. You just go to an opium den, right? They inject you with opium or smoke. You take it, and you're happy. So that doesn't really make sense. And then the 3rd one, I want to be fulfilled or I want purpose. Well, how do you define that? Do you define it personally? Do you find it religiously, politically, spiritually? If you want to be fulfilled, go out and do something for somebody else. It's not that hard to do. If you want to know your purpose, what did Mark Twain said? The 2 most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you figure out why. And the chances are you never figure out why. So purpose, fulfillment, understanding, it's unlikely that that's going to happen. But again, it means different things to different people. And so people function by saying, I'm going after what I want. I want to be rich. I want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled. That doesn't really tell you what to do. And in fact, they can be at loggerheads, right? I want to be rich, so I'm going to go work really hard to make a lot of money. I want to be happy, so I'm going to spend a lot of time doing what I love to do, which is gardening and playing with my kids. Wait a second. I got to go work really hard. If I'm going to work really hard and be a workaholic, I can't spend so much time with my kids. If I don't spend time with my kids, do I not have purpose? Well, was my purpose to be rich So you can see it just becomes this big ball of confusion. So how can we expect to be moving towards something positive if, in fact, we don't even know what it is? If people want to do New Year's resolutions, my recommendation is don't do a New Year's resolution. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to diet. I'm going to quit smoking. Whatever. Those are just tasks. Get an accountability partner, say what you're going to do, figure out how you're going to do it, and go get it done. The New Year's resolution should be, I'm going to figure out what I want. And it sounds easy. It's only 3 words, what I want, but it's really hard. However, if you do it, all of a sudden, the rest of it's easy.
You know, that's tremendous advice, Bruce. And, you know, I think for me, I was just writing it down. I have great notes for whenever you come on the show. And I utilize the concepts. So I totally hear you. You know, we've worked so hard at our house to just create another round of life that all we really want is to have peace and harmony in our world, which is very difficult to achieve unless you work on it every single day very consciously. And you have to realize that the world is a very chaotic and unpredictable place, and you're never really going to achieve perfect peace or harmony in your life. And you really have to achieve just today being better than yesterday sometimes. And, you know, you have to have the courage to go out and look for these new opportunities. You have to have the courage to believe in yourself when sometimes the reaction from the world may not be positive. The cold call is a great example. You know, a certain point, people think, well, I'm never going to have to make another phone call. Listen, I got news for you. There's nothing wrong with making phone calls. And like you said, if you can make it a challenge and you can see the results that happen when you make the cold calls, you'll make more of them. Doesn't mean you're going to feel good about it at the beginning, but getting successful at it feeds on itself.
There's a way to make it easier, though, that I don't think people realize. When I ran the ad agency, we would pitch business, and it's very difficult to pitch business. There's a lot of steps. First of all, you got to find the prospect. So you have to either do cold calls or read trade magazines or whatever to find out who's looking for a new agency. Then you have to build a relationship. Then you have to get into the pitch. Then you have to submit all the information. Then you have to go make the presentation. There's lots of steps. And then they either tell you, yes, you won it, or no, you didn't. And if you only waited to be happy to when you won the business, first of all, it's a very long time. As you know, sometimes that's a very long tail effort. You start communicating with someone, they have no interest in hiring you for 2, 3, 4, 5, who knows how many years. And then you have to go through all those steps. So what I decided one day was we were going to celebrate each step, not ultimate success. So it wasn't a zero-sum game. We won, we're happy. We lost, we're sad. No, we found a prospect. Woohoo! That's great. Now we have someone to go after. I've built a relationship. I can call that person and they'll pick up the phone. I've been sending them interesting things. I've been mailing them. I've been doing whatever I've done, my blog, my books, articles. Then they've invited us to the pitch. Woo! Celebrate. Then we've figured out what we're going to do. We've rehearsed. We've created it. Then we go do the pitch. Man, we kicked ass. You know that sometimes you do a great job, you still don't win. But we felt good because we did a great job. Or we were disappointed because we could have done a better job. Then you win or you don't win. And that became its own celebration. Now, let's face it, we need to make the money, so we needed to get to the last step. But you don't always get there. So why set yourself up for being disappointed when you know you're not going to get there a certain percentage of the time? And so we changed the paradigm within which we operated so that we could enjoy the process. And we got much better at it because it was no longer, oh, I can't believe I have to do that. So cold calling can be the same. I got to get a list that works. I got to pick up the phone and dial. Good, I overcame the inertia to dial. Oh, they answered. Oh, I got the person on the phone. Oh, I had done my research, so I had something interesting to say, and so on, and so on, and so on.
Yeah, it's very important also. I've had, people listen to me when I've done my, we'll call it pitch, and it really is helpful. And it's just really about changing your thought process and your paradigm and accepting, like you said, what needs to happen in today's world and being able to project positive energy, go down through the process and execute the process. And the part about process management is important in every aspect. Bruce, we only have a couple of more minutes left. And I really would like to create kind of a message that we can leave people with here as they transition from 1 year to the next. This is kind of our annual thing that we do. What do you think is the most important thing that people should learn from our time together today that can be something that they can effectively carry into the future with them?
May I tell you a little story?
Of course.
So you would remember, and anyone who's local will recognize this, that my office was in Coconut Grove. And back in the day, right in the center of Coconut Grove, right in that little downtown area, there was a Starbucks. It was inside of Cocoa Walk. It wasn't inside, it was outdoors, but it was in the Cocoa Walk complex. And I was going to a meeting one day. I don't even remember what it was for, but I was late for this meeting. I'm never late, by the way, but I was late for this meeting. So I was stressed because I don't like to be late. And I had a suit on, and it was hot, and I was not running, but I was walking quickly, carrying a portfolio case, so I was uncomfortable. And as I walked through Cocoa Walk on the way to my meeting, there's a guy there, and he's in a T-shirt, running shorts, and running shoes. He's sitting at Starbucks. His bike is leaning against the table, and he's on his laptop. He's got his coffee or his tea, and he's on his laptop. And I saw that, and I thought, that's what I want. To me, that was freedom. That was, now, to be clear, I don't know what he's doing on his laptop. He could be writing the great American novel. He could be reading the Wall Street Journal, or he could be filing for bankruptcy. I don't have any idea. Doesn't really matter. The facts are different, but the truths are universal. It's just that picture painted of here I am in a suit, uncomfortable, late, stressed, all these employees I have to pay, really worried. And here's this guy hanging out. He rode his bike there. He's dressed the way I'd like to be dressed. And now I am most days, t-shirt, running shoes, So when I got back that night, I was thinking about that, and I drew a little sketch. And stupidly, I don't have it in front of me, or I'd hold it up and I'd show it to y'all. But I drew a little sketch just of this, I draw everything in my little sketchbooks of this guy sitting there. And that became the picture of success to me. When I thought, what do I want? That's what I want. I want to be able to dress the way I want. I want to be able to ride my bike. I love to write. I love to do my work. So I want to be able to do my work where I want in the sunshine. And that became an image that I kept in my head to move towards. Once I sold the business, and as I mentioned to you, the speaking business kind of went away, so I started writing a new book. I would periodically put backpack on, put my laptop in my backpack, and ride my bike to a coffee shop near where I live, just to sit there and see if that was still what I wanted, because that was my picture. Today, I just got a text from someone we both know about having lunch with him, and I'll probably ride my bike over there to have lunch with him. It's such a beautiful day. I think it's not only important to know what you want, but it's important to have an image of what that looks like. Now, remember, in that picture, I don't know what's happening on the computer. I don't know what his bank balance looks like. I don't know what his house looks like. I don't know any of those things. It's not about that. It's about that this guy, in my mind, had the freedom to be where he wanted, doing what he wanted, when he wanted. And knowing that, I can then decide if I want to do a job or not, if I want to take a client or not. And on the other side, if I want to take on a risk or an expense, if I want to buy a new car, and then I think, well, what would that cost? Well, if I do that, what do I need to generate? Well, if I generate that money, will it take me away from being able to not have to worry and hop on my bike and go to Starbucks? So sometimes knowing what you want means you turn down things you want in order to accomplish the bigger picture. But have a picture. You don't have to be able to know how to draw. You can cut a picture out of a magazine. You can make a collage. You can do it with words. You could write, guy in shorts at Starbucks with bike leaning against the table. Doesn't matter, but memorialize it. Make a vision. I'm not talking about people who tape a picture of a Rolls Royce on their mirror so when they're shaving, they go, I'm going to get a Rolls Royce. That's not what this is about. It's about how do you see yourself doing what you want to do.
Absolutely tremendous, Bruce. Thank you so much, as always, for being on the show. If you could stick with us just a couple of minutes to coordinate on the back end of the green room, we'd really appreciate it.
I'm going nowhere. I'm right here.
You're tremendous. And Mr. Mendoza, keep the tape going while we're going to the green room, if you don't mind. Bruce, as always, I want to thank you so much. Hold up a copy of the book and let's talk about it one last second.
Well, here's all about them. And here's Is That All There Is?
That's tremendous. I love them both. In fact, I've got them both. And I really can't thank you for the role you've played in helping me move forward in my life, Bruce. And these small segments we do together are just absolute gold mines. I want to thank Bruce Turkel for being on the show today. I want to thank you for watching and listening. Without y'all, we wouldn't have a podcast. Remember, we drop a new podcast every Wednesday at noon on freedombusiness.com and all across all the social media networks. I want to thank our sponsors for well over a decade now. Warren Henry Automotive. When you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry. We go there, always the best service, always the best price, always Warren Henry. And remember, we do this podcast because we love doing it. We love meeting the people and putting out the energy. Remember, my personal brand is that I self-actualize by helping other people achieve their dreams and goals. I do that by solving their problems and giving them peace of mind. Remember, we'll be on next week and at 12 o'clock noon. And I want to remind everybody, and this, Bruce, is what we've been talking about all day. The person who wants to do something finds a way. The other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Mr. Mendoza, it's your turn.